Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Team Rivalry Big Ten Week 6 preview. I am your host, Cliff Richardson, and we are having all kinds of fun trying to get technology set up and working for us. Mackenzie Richardson, our commentator extraordinaire, is in the window below me from my perspective. How are things going over there, Mac?
Oh, pretty good down here. It's nice. It's cold, a little tired. Not bad.
Not bad. We get 9 people, we can do a Brady Bunch kind of thing.
That'd be fun.
We are in week 6, as I said, and we are at a time in the football season where some teams are about to become bowl eligible and other teams are trying to fight off the panic, and a couple of teams get a break. Before we get into it, I'd like to remind everyone where you can find us. We are at teamrivalry.com is the website. Mac, where can they find us on the socials?
You can find us on Twitter at RivalryB1G. That's a capital R, a capital B, and a capital G. And obviously, you can find us right here on the YouTube. You can subscribe. Wow. You can subscribe, comment, and ring the notification bell. And good night.
Late scribe. There used to be a DVD writer, I think.
No,
and thank you to everybody who has subscribed already. We appreciate each and every subscription. Don't remember.
Good night, everybody.
Wow. Good night, everybody. We're done. Whatever you do, forget everything you've heard here. Which brings me to my second point.
Football.
We have a merch store now, and unfortunately, I put the wrong pictures up here. But these 2 shirts, hopefully you can see them, are available. And we are calling these our rivalry shirts. We're going to make them for every rivalry game, actual trophied rivalry game, not just every game. This one, what is this? The Battle for the Governor's Victory Bell between Minnesota and Penn State. That's coming up on October 22nd. Takes about 11 days for the shipping. Shipping's kind of slow right now, so you want to order those by this weekend. You can wear them to the game. You can wear them at home, show your team pride, and you can support us in the process, which is really nice because we could evidently use a lot of support.
We need.
I have a trivia question for you, Mac.
All
Hold
right.
on a second. I set my notes over here. I'll be right back. Oh man, I just made a mess. This is a good one. We are jamming here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tonight's trivia question.
All right.
In the 21st century, which Big Ten team has had the most coaches? Head coaches.
Wow. In the 21st century.
Yeah. Starting from, and I want to start from 2001, the actual turn of the century, not 2000.
Rutgers?
No.
Oh, man. Okay.
Rutgers. Okay. So it's really not even that many. The answer is actually Illinois with 7 coaches. Only one team. Okay. So here's the follow-up. Which team has had the fewest number of head coaches in the 21st century?
Ohio State. No. Iowa. Duh.
Iowa. There you go.
Iowa.
Kirk Ferentz, the only Big Ten coach to straddle 2 centuries. Yeah, I was surprised. For some reason, I thought there would be more, but or at least more than that. The average number is actually 6. Indiana, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Purdue have all had 6 coaches.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's a lot over a 20-year period.
It is.
22 period. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Period.
I would not have guessed that. I didn't think Illinois, but now that I think about it, I can't remember who the coach was before. Was it Lovie Smith?
Yeah.
It was Lovie Smith and now Brett Bielema.
Yep.
And I have a clue who it was before then.
I forgot to. We can look it up as we go along here.
Yeah.
We had a few other things I wanted to talk about. Oh, I learned a couple of new things this week from Rick Pizzo at the Big Ten Network. And that is Blake Corum apparently is called the Little Big Man now.
All right.
I had not heard this before, but that's what they call him. Also, a touchdown is no longer a TD, it's a tutty. Which doesn't sound good to me, but that's what he's calling him.
It's relevant, man.
I did want to talk about the score predictor. It didn't do really well, but it was remarkably consistent between the last 2 weeks. I think it messed us. Well, mine got us messed up on the Minnesota game. I think you had the Minnesota game, I think, backwards too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Minnesota's dead to me.
Yeah. Yeah. They ruined all of the predictions and the betting.
If this was a March Madness bracket, I'd be busted.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
So as we head into game one, first off, I want to point out that Minnesota and Penn State have bye weeks this week, so we won't be talking about them. Our first game is Nebraska at Rutgers. This is the 6th meeting between these two teams. They haven't had a whole lot of time together. Nebraska has a perfect record of 5-0 against the Scarlet Knights, and Mickey Joseph is now 1-1 on the season, the brand new Nebraska head coach. And we've got two teams fighting for survival at this point. If Nebraska wins this game, they'll be tied for the most wins in the West with whoever wins the Illinois Iowa game, which would be a total of 2 wins. This means that Nebraska actually will have a chance to win the West Division now that Minnesota has a loss and Wisconsin has 2 losses. So I think we all thought either Wisconsin or Minnesota would get the West Division, but Wisconsin's probably out of it. Minnesota's got to fight for it again. On the stats, these teams actually look pretty evenly matched. You have to give the momentum to Nebraska, I think. They're coming off a win against Indiana. Rutgers is coming off a thrashing by Ohio State. Coach Joseph in the press conference is high energy. Schiano, head coach at Rutgers, I think he was kind of even keel. He wasn't excited or disappointed, just kind of evened it out there. I think it matters because I think the team responds to the coach's enthusiasm. So that will play through that way. Nebraska's defense, though, might be a little too leaky to stop the Rutgers defense or stop the Rutgers offense. The odds makers are giving this game to Rutgers by 3. So it's going to be pretty tight. And it really comes down to which team is still hungry for a bowl game. And looking at the schedule, it doesn't get any easier for either of them after this. Who needs to step up in the Nebraska's defense, and who needs to step up on the Rutgers offense to keep this game close?
I mean, the entire Nebraska defense needs to step up to keep this close. I can't believe we're talking about like what Nebraska needs to do to keep a game close against Rutgers, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yep.
I mean, so they allowed nearly 100 points against Oklahoma and Georgia Southern. Then the next week they allowed the 21 points against Indiana. And keep in mind, like Indiana is currently ranked 146th in the nation in points for. So yeah, I mean, they're going to need to be good against Rutgers passing attack, which is, I mean, certainly going to be hoping for a good game from receiver Aaron Cruikshank. He's had a pretty solid season so far. And he'll probably have a solid game against Nebraska, considering how bad their passing defense is. Rutgers also has the advantage in terms of strength of schedule. I mean, yeah, they got destroyed by Ohio State and they turned the ball over against Iowa a lot, but Nebraska's only quality opponent so far is Oklahoma, and even they stumbled last week. So I don't know. I think Rutgers is actually going to be ready for this game.
Yeah, I think for the two teams in the situation they're in, this is actually going to be a pretty tight game, maybe even well played. But we'll have to see. My prediction, okay, well, not my prediction. Going through the score predictor, I'm sticking with the numbers. I'm not changing them. I've got Nebraska 24, Rutgers 31. So I'm calling Rutgers for the win.
Ooh.
What do you got?
Hey. Give me the Scarlet Squires, 31-21.
Ooh, oh, we're very close on that one. All right.
Yeah, 31-21. I was reading it backwards. Although I think it shows up. Yeah, it shows up backwards on the screen. All right. Can we fix that in post?
No. All right, our next game, Purdue at Maryland. Again, Purdue surprising all of us, keeping us on our toes. This is the 4th meeting between the Boilermakers and the Terrapins. Maryland leading the series 2-1. And Maryland scored, just an interesting side note is that Maryland scored the same number of points against Michigan as they did Michigan State. And they won one of those games and lost one of those games. Purdue, as I said, it's the team that keeps us on our toes. If I didn't know any better, I think that Purdue could win every single game they play. They just lose the ones they choose not to win. Because they win games they shouldn't, and they lose games they shouldn't. So I think they're actually the best team in the league. And the only reason they lose a game is because they just didn't feel like winning it. Purdue's ability to upset ranked teams while Purdue is unranked continued last weekend as they upset Minnesota. The ESPN matchup predictor has Maryland at 67.9% for the win, but only by 3, which I thought was it's a small score margin for as much as they're giving them percentage wise. I think that even the predictor, which is, automated, even looked at this and said, yeah, but it's Purdue.
Don't want to get carried away.
Right. So Maryland, on the other hand, has been pretty consistent. They tore up the non-conference. They fell to Michigan, but they got some vengeance against Michigan State. They've still got Penn State and Ohio State on their schedule, so they can't let up. Aside from Iowa, this might be the toughest game on the remainder of Purdue's schedule since they don't play Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State. They really lucked out in that aspect.
Yes.
But these are mental factors, attitudes, commitment. It's all mindset. Personnel-wise, I think we're looking at a pretty tight game. What does each team need to do to get an edge in this game?
Yeah, I think Purdue and Maryland are essentially identical teams. Both are very pass heavy, but both are also mistake prone. So Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback for Purdue, he's got 3 interceptions on the year, and Talia Tagovailoa, it's Talia, right? Like, that's how you pronounce it.
I'm not sure. Let's go with that. It sounds good.
It does sound good. I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard. So if that's incorrect, Mr. Tagovailoa, you have my sincerest apologies. But you've also got 4 interceptions. So yeah, both teams are mistake prone. Neither team has much of a pass defense either. So you're definitely going to see a lot of points scored in this game. Honestly, I think this could end up coming down to the team that scores last wins. But I specifically want to focus on Purdue because of that. Just because, yeah, like they beat Minnesota, which is great for them, but I'm still looking at that close game against Florida Atlantic and the loss at Syracuse where they just kind of imploded on themselves. That was a ridiculous fourth quarter. And I also think that they just kind of pulled a rabbit out of a hat with whatever they did at Minnesota. So while Maryland, they struggled against Michigan defensively, they only put up 27 points against a dreadful MSU secondary. I still think that they're the more consistent team, and that is probably what's going to give them an edge in this game.
All right, yeah. The score predictor came up with Purdue 21, Maryland 45. So we've got Maryland for a pretty decisive win in this one.
Ooh.
Through the score predictor.
Well, when I said a lot of points in this one, I didn't mean that many. Give me the Turtles 34-17.
34-17.
The Battle Turtles.
Well, that's not too far off.
No, I guess not.
Our next game, Wisconsin at Northwestern. Now, this is actually our oldest matchup of the weekend, 101 meeting. Well, this is the 101st meeting. It's a century-old rivalry without a trophy, which I think is a travesty. Wisconsin leads the series 60-36-4. And also given the fact that another reason it's a travesty is given the fact that these teams are so close geographically. I think they're only about 100 miles apart, maybe 120 miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
So for all of you Northwestern Wisconsin people out there, come up with a trophy. Everybody has a trophy now, so get one. As of today, Wisconsin and Northwest, not the airline, the football team, mm-hmm. Northwestern are the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. They have a combined record of 3-7 on the season. Nebraska is right there with them with the same number of wins as Wisconsin. Northwestern. Wait a minute. Same number of wins as with
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Right.
but they have one more point. Oh yeah, they have one more point. So they have a lead over Wisconsin by 1 point. So they're not, they're like number 3, the third worst team. Wisconsin has a new head coach, which you covered in the trash talk. Christ was fired, and the new coach is Jim Leonard. He was the defensive coordinator and the defensive backs coach for Wisconsin right up until Sunday. Wisconsin is actually favored in this game. Northwestern might just be a punching bag for the rest of the season because they have Maryland, Iowa, Ohio State, Minnesota, one right after another waiting for them. Both these teams are in a desperate need for a win just to maintain morale, because I'm not sure at this point if either of these teams are going to get up to 6-6 given their upcoming schedules.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, throws the stats out the window. This is going to be a street fight. It's still about, it's really only about who still wants to win, who still has some fight left in them. What do you think?
I think that kind of mentality is probably going to benefit Wisconsin a lot more than it does Northwestern. So, yeah, I mean, I really expected both teams to be far better than they are this season. But personnel wise, Wisconsin still has the stronger team, and that's going to be key for them. Now, Northwestern's defense had a good day against Penn State, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. But, you know, I also don't like Penn State as nearly as much as other pundits do. I think that I'm not going to say frauds. I think that they just don't actually have a good resume just yet. So, I mean, they beat Auburn. Great. Good job, guys. But anyway, so Jim Leonard, though, Wisconsin interim coach, I mean, he's going to have this team rally behind him. It's kind of that old thing where the coach gets fired and then the team rallies because it's, you know, at this point you're playing for pride and, you know, for the flag and all that. Jim Leonard himself, though, I mean, he's actually a pretty solid coach last week, notwithstanding, since his defense gave up 34 points to Illinois. But at one point, he did have a shot at going to the NFL. So he is that caliber of a coach. And I think he's going to want to take this opportunity to make a case for becoming the Badgers' next head coach. So whatever happened with the defense against Illinois certainly needs to be fixed, but Northwestern's offense is definitely going to be a great opportunity to get some of those bugs worked out and maybe switch up a few things, like maybe try up some different schemes or something, get something going just to build some confidence.
I saw his press conference. He seems like a pretty confident coach. He was recognizing the fact that the players are sort of everything's up in the air for him right now. A lot of mixed emotions on the team, he said. So he's trying to work through that. So I appreciate the fact that he's not coming in there and like telling these guys, okay, we got to change everything right now. Right. I think he's actually going to give them a couple of weeks to sort of work things through, which I think in the long run will be really good for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay, so the score predictor came up with Wisconsin 38, Northwestern 10.
Wow. Okay.
What do you?
I too am taking Wisconsin, but I don't think they're going to score that many points on offense, and I also think they're going to give up a few more on defense. But nevertheless, give me the Cheese Skunks, 28-14.
The Cheese Skunks.
I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wanted to make this part fun.
Oh, sure, yeah. That makes sense. Our next game, Iowa at Illinois. So this is a fight for the lead in the West, provided who was it? I forgot again.
Or
Purdue.
Northwestern or Purdue.
I get, I know these things when we're not recording, but as soon as the camera comes on, I'm like, boop. Whoever wins this game will be the leader in the West unless Northwestern beats Wisconsin. That's what I wanted to say. I actually had it in my notes, and I should have just looked over and read them, but I was trying to be, all off the cuff kind of.
Spontaneous, professional.
Spontaneous, and it doesn't work. Never do that, ever.
No,
never be spontaneous. No. This is the 79th meeting between the Hawkeyes and the Fighting Illini. Iowa leads the series 39-36-3. Illinois hasn't beaten Iowa since 2008.
Whoa.
Iowa has won the last 8 games by at least 2 scores, but Illinois is favored in this game. Illinois outclasses Iowa in the 4 major categories: points per game, points allowed, yards gained, and yards allowed. Iowa is an enigma this season. Illinois, on the other hand, pretty consistent. Illinois has the momentum, the home field advantage, a shot at the lead in the West Division. I don't see why they shouldn't win this game, but they've got some weaknesses Iowa can exploit. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some fantastic numbers in terms of yards and points for Tommy DeVito, the Illinois quarterback. Unfortunately, I'm seeing another big number. Illinois has 9 turnovers already this season.
Yeah.
So, and what is the one thing you absolutely cannot do against Iowa's defense? Turn the ball over.
Turn the ball over, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, tons of credit to Illinois for the clean game they played against Wisconsin. I mean, it's not often Illinois beats Wisconsin, let alone trashes them, but they did it efficiently, and they did it by protecting the ball. Iowa's definitely feeling some pressure to get a win here with the double-digit loss to Michigan last week, and a night game on the road at Illinois isn't exactly going to be helpful for that. And especially because Illinois has a wide open path somehow to the Big Ten title game. I don't particularly like Iowa's offense in this game either. I mean, they only rush the ball for 88 yards a game, and Illinois doesn't allow more than 70 on average. So Iowa's going to need to air the ball out a bit, or and get a few scores that way, or at least get some chunk plays, and then maybe pound the ball in from there. But they've been extraordinarily inconsistent when it comes to that. So I'm just thinking about that. I've got that 4th and 2 play inside the Michigan 10-yard line last week where they actually got the pass completed, but didn't make the first down. So they got a 1-yard pass completion. Like, really? Yeah. I mean, they've just got to open things up in the passing game where Illinois could be trouble as long as they play a clean game.
Yeah, I remember that play too. I was thinking to myself, are they seriously going for it here? Just get the field goal.
Yeah, take the points, move on.
They had plenty of time to catch up after that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one thing you got to say for Iowa too, is that they didn't give up in that game. I mean, they came back to what they scored their last touchdown in the last couple of minutes there. It wasn't enough to win the game, obviously, but they didn't quit.
Yeah, and they set off fireworks for that too.
Yeah. The score predictor in this case, though, we have Illinois 28, Iowa 17.
28-17, eh?
Yep. Illinois with the win.
I, too, am taking Illinois. Give me the surprisingly good Illini. 24-13.
24-13. All right. Our next game, our favorite here, number 4, Michigan at Indiana. Michigan is now only the second top 5 team to win at Kinnick Stadium since 2008 also. And this was, of course, the big deal was that this is the first time Jim Harbaugh has won either as a player or a coach at Kinnick Stadium. So we can finally throw that stat out that he's never won at Kinnick Stadium. This is the 71st meeting with Iowa between, I'm sorry, this is the 71st meeting between, well, I messed up my notes. 71st meeting between Michigan and Indiana. No trophy. Again, I think a travesty. The states are right next to each other. 71 meetings, deserves a trophy. Michigan leads the series 60-10. In my lifetime and yours, Michigan has only lost to Indiana twice.
Name the years.
Yeah. No. What?
Name the years.
2020, and
Yes.
I think the other one was 1980 something.
Yes.
Somewhere in there.
1987.
87,
I think.
somewhere around there. It's been a while. Michigan outclasses Indiana in every category going into this game. Michigan is favored by 22.5 points. That's huge.
It is.
Which means Indiana only has 2 advantages in this game: home field advantage and trap game advantage. If Michigan overlooks Indiana, they're in trouble. Last week, Michigan played Iowa, and Iowa loves to run the ball. Indiana appears to rely on their passing game more than their running game. So Michigan it may not be necessarily prepared for that passing game. But Indiana just lost to Nebraska. Michigan is on the roll to stay in a playoff contention. All of that said, I think Michigan comes away with a strong and decisive win here. But is there a way that that Indiana can trip up the Wolverines?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, Indiana does love to toss the ball around, and that could certainly be trouble for Michigan. The only thing I don't actually like about Michigan right now is that their pass rush is just a little bit inconsistent. I think last weekend, Iowa was allowed to gain a lot more yards than they really should have been allowed to. Now, I mean, there's definitely this bend, don't break mentality with Michigan, and they're doing that pretty well on defense. If they allow a big play, that doesn't automatically mean that they give up on that particular drive, which is definitely a huge thing for them. They are currently only allowing 11 points per game, which is good, even if they've only played one competent offense so far. Right. Indiana, I mean, they're capable of putting up some points, but they're also quite reckless with the football. Their quarterback, Connor Bazelak, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
Yep.
Bazelak. He's got 1,400 yards passing and 8 touchdowns. So pretty solid. But he's also got 5 interceptions. Indiana as a team has 9 turnovers overall. So yeah, I mean, they might be able to move the ball a bit against Michigan, but frankly, I think that they're going to be lucky to come out of this one with less than 2 or 3 turnovers, which, obviously that really helps Michigan. And I think Michigan, because of that, opens this one up early, and quickly, which I guess is the same thing.
Right. Well, and I think too, and not that it all comes down to the quarterback, but Bazelak, I think his QB rating is in the 40s and JJ McCarthy's is in the high 80s. Mm-hmm. So Michigan has a distinct and powerful advantage in this game. Just got to avoid thinking about the next game.
Yeah. The
score predictor has, it's going to be a big one. Number 4, Michigan 66, Indiana 7.
Ooh.
That's a high scoring one.
All right.
See, and you know what? Before you give your prediction, I actually think I disagree with the score predictor, because I don't think Michigan is in, and this is going to sound weird, but I don't think they like to score that many points. I think Steve Dace was talking about how Michigan adjusts for each team rather than trying to hugely overpower the team like Ohio State does. It seems like Ohio State always wants to score as many points as possible, and Michigan sort of regulates and scores as many points as they need.
That's a very NFL thing to do, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is.
Yeah, I don't
try to keep the game close.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's actually all that good of a strategy. I mean,
it may not be. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's got extraordinarily powerful offenses for a reason.
Right.
I mean, if they can actually hang 100 on somebody, I think that they would do that, or they would want to. But yeah. Anyway,
so, your prediction, sir?
My prediction. I too think Michigan is going to score a lot of points. I just don't know that it's going to be 66. But nevertheless, I'm taking Jim Harbaugh's Khakis 49-10.
49-10. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And our last game of the weekend, the two teams we love to hate. This is their 51st meeting. Ohio State leads Michigan State 35-15. Ohio State, of course, is ranked number 3, still the highest ranked team in the Big Ten. This is Michigan's 2 biggest rivals going head to head. And like I said, these are the teams that we love to hate. And really, no matter who loses, we win. That's just the way it is. According to the odds makers, Michigan State actually has a better chance of beating Ohio State than Indiana does of beating Michigan. That's a useless stat, but I thought I'd throw it in there.
It's fun.
And who are we kidding anyway? We're talking about Ohio State. Michigan State has a long list of things to fix, which I thought was hilarious that Mel Tucker was directly asked this question at the press conference. Even though Michigan State has a lot of things to fix, how do you feel about the game against Ohio State? Mel Tucker handled it pretty well, though, I thought. Michigan State has 3 losses in a row. Ohio State is by far the toughest opponent they have faced so far this season. this game shakes out like the Michigan-Indiana game, MSU has the home field advantage and the trap game advantage. MSU tends to be more vicious than Indiana in these situations. They might actually end up exposing some weaknesses in Ohio State's game plan. Where does Michigan State need to attack Ohio State in order to have a chance at this game?
All right. Well, first off, I really want to go back and watch that press conference because I completely missed it. So I would love to see Tucker answer that question.
It was a lot of really difficult questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. In terms of this game, though, they're going to need to attack Ohio State secondary. So, yeah, I mean, Ohio State's been dominant, obviously, but they've still given up some big plays to lesser opponents. Toledo, get this, had a 50-yard touchdown pass and a 40-yard touchdown pass against the Buckeyes. Yeah. So, and then Wisconsin's first touchdown came after a modest but helpful 26-yard touchdown, or regular pass, not a touchdown pass, just a regular one. So there are holes in Ohio State's defense that I think Michigan State could take advantage of. The problem is that the Buckeye offense is just unstoppable right now. Yeah. So they're currently averaging about 49 points and 530 yards per game. Now, we just talked about, you just mentioned all of the problems with Michigan State secondary. I think MSU might be able to score some points here. I mean, Peyton Thorne's talented, Jaden Reed's talented, Jalen Berger's okay. Nah, he's talented, but they have some problems on the offensive line, and I think that's really hindering Michigan State's ability to get a running attack going, which is putting pressure on the passing game. But nevertheless, overall, I think despite the fact that MSU might be able to put some points on the board, Michigan State secondary could get torched in a way that I think could make a volcano look cold. I just don't think Michigan, that was so corny. I'm sorry. I don't think Michigan State has the talent or motivation to hang with Ohio State right now. I don't think that they've got it right now.
Yeah. And one of the other things that was brought up in that press conference is that Peyton Thorne is definitely talented, but he looks frustrated on the field. And I think that's because he's not getting the backup from the rest of his offense. Who was the running back last year?
Kenneth Walker.
I think they leaned really heavily on Kenneth Walker. It was, if we go back and watch those games last year, it might look more like a one-man show.
He won them some games for sure.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, and they're suffering for it this year.
Mm-hmm.
The score predictor has come up with a big OSU win, and there must be something very similar in the stats with Michigan, because I have OSU 66, Michigan State 9.
Ooh.
And that might be 3 field. Well, it would have to be 3 field goals, wouldn't it?
Or a touchdown and a safety.
Well, yeah, there you go.
That's not going to happen.
Well,
there's a chance.
There's a chance.
I think Ohio State's going to win. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I think Michigan State might score a few more points, though. But nevertheless, give me the toilet bowl dwellers. 56-14.
56-14.
With all due respect to our friends in Columbus, of course.
Well, and they're playing at Michigan State too. What do they call it? The woodshed there. So
the toilet shed.
could be an outhouse if Ohio State wins, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, we're gonna take crap for that.
Get it? Outhouse crap. All right.
All right, everybody, that'll do it for this week. If you have a different opinion, please leave it in the comments. Let us know what you think. Do all the things. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, give us a comment. We love to hear from everybody. Go to the store, buy a shirt. There's a lot more than just the Minnesota, Iowa shirts there, with more coming online. Any parting thoughts, Mac?
Follow us on Twitter too. Sometimes I say funny things.
Sometimes he does. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Thanks for hanging out with us all the way through this video. This is Team Rivalry.